I've completed my fire character, and now I want to be able to put in a sky. So here's the kicker with Arnold. Arnold doesn't like bitmaps. It wants to work with images. However, because Arnold's still new to 3D Studio Max, it doesn't work in the same way that it normally does. Anyway, there's my cute little character. Isn't he adorable? Normally what you do for in Arnold to work with an image rather than a bitmap is to select your material, come down to Arnold, and select an image. Somewhere in here. How did I miss it? Texture, image, there it is, okay? So you say okay, I'm gonna say cancel because it's already in here. You say okay, and then under here, the file name, you can now attach your image, which is what I did. It won't allow me to use this as I normally can do. Normally you can just drag this into your environment once you've set up all the parameters, and I'll show you. Drag it. Oh, it'll let me drag it. It's just not letting me drag it. And attach it, but then when I render it out, okay, you did it before. Let's just come down here and select it from scene materials, because I've set it up as a scene material. It's not showing it. Okay, that's why it's not doing it. It always does perfectly fine until I get on camera. Anyway, so if I drag this over here and I render this out, I won't get what happens if I use a bitmap. So you say, okay, use a bitmap. The problem is it's going to not be high clarity. So we're going to do it anyway, and I'm going to show you some things you can do to tweak it to make it look better. Okay? So what I'm going to do is start over, or start from the beginning. So I'm going to close all these. Okay, so here's my character, and you can go to, I've posted this in Blackboard, you can go to different websites to get your HDRI image. This one is HDRI Haven. I've posted the link in Blackboard, and these are free. When you click on them, you don't have to sign up, you can just download them. Okay, so I've downloaded my image, and I'm just going to click on one of these here to show you that you have a whole bunch of options. And these are really high resolution. The problem is, even if you use one of these really high resolution ones, it's not going to matter because Arnold doesn't like bitmaps. So let's, and this keeps resetting orthographic. So let's go through the process, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open both my material editor, move this over here so you can see it, and I'm going to come down here and select a new slot. And go ahead and set that up as a standard surface. Okay, so I'm selecting my new slot. And then I'm going to go to rendering, environment. All right. So I'm going to select none and pick my bitmap. And I'm just going to go ahead and use this higher, I uploaded one of those, or downloaded one of those high resolution ones. And you want to, you can use, in 3D Studio Max, it will let you use an HDRI file. This is a true HDRI file. And then it has some options. You can use real pixels. You can tell it that you want to use a different setup. I actually haven't gone through these yet. I just allowed the standards to come through. And say okay. And then once it shows up here, we should see it in the background, because I did tell it to show up. And it's taking a minute. Okay, so you can see it's back here and it's not very good. So there's some things you could do to fix it. We're going to go ahead and change automatic exposure control while we're in here. And then we're going to take our environment map and drag and drop it into a slot in our material editor as an instance. Okay. So now that when that shows up, we're going to make sure we change our coordinates from texture to environ. And you have some different options with your mapping. You can use spherical, cylindrical, shrink wrap, or screen. We're gonna select spherical. It tends to produce the best results. Just render this out quickly so you can see that now it's in there. It's not too bad. But you see the hill's in the way. I want just the sky. So one of the things you can do is either find a better HDRI map, which could take hours finding, or you can come down here to offset. You see the V number, and I can adjust that. Watch what happens when I scroll up. It moves it up. If I scroll down, it moves it down until I've gotten rid of that. Okay. By default, the blur is 1. I'm just going to take out the blur. I'm just going to pull that down all the way to 0.01. So under coordinates, I now have environment, spherical environment. Make sure it doesn't show use real world scale. So uncheck that. If you need to go back to texture to uncheck it, do that. Yeah, it does weird things when you go back to texture. All right. And then we're going to come down here to our bitmap parameters. It may be rolled up. Just pull that down. Filtering, none. And do that. Okay, and that should help a little bit. Now what we're going to need to do is select, come back up here to our image, and drag and drop it back into here so it will update. There we go. See it? Is allowing me to do that as an instance. And it's allowing me to update the changes I made here to the environment map. Now, I'm going to render this out. You see, that's not bad. If I hadn't done that, this would have looked a lot worse. And it's just because Arnold really doesn't like bitmaps, but in the 2018 version, I was unable to get the image to work doing this process, which is what it prefers, because this is a high definition image. So this is what we'll do, and I will take that into consideration as you all do the same thing. Just want you to understand the process, and then hopefully this will be something that they put out a higher image, or they fix it in the future so that you can use this image. Yeah, because you see I have it in here. I went ahead and uploaded it as an image, but then when I dropped it over here, I eventually was able to drop it over here. It just rendered out a purple background. It didn't show the map. So that's really it. That's the basics. And then let me render my image. And you see I have the background. And it will, when I move the camera, I'm just going to go ahead and close this. When I move the camera in my scene, it keeps doing that on me and I don't know why. When I move the camera, you see the background is going to move with it. So when you render this out, make sure you check it, right? So that because I didn't get everything below the horizon. You probably want to pick a better HDRI map. I just picked the first one I saw that I thought was cool because he's a sprite at night. But when you change this, when you move this around, you will see that it works just like the real world with the sky. And the sky will move with your camera, which is what you want in your animation.